Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will are back again for another spectacular talk on Marvel Plus Talk. Today, we're going to discuss what is it? The ranking of the Spider-Man villain films, right, Will? Um,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Because I'm getting too old, so I can't remember things. Uh, I never tell you I was born in the '60s, so I was born in 1962, like the same year as Spider-Man, in the year before X-Men arrived. How crazy is that?
hmm Yeah,
Uh,
you're how old would that make you? That's
uh,
60.
yeah, by 16 now. Yeah, my birthday passed already in October, so.
hmm
uh, so anyway, so we're gonna have another ranking today. Today we're ranking on the Spider-Man film villains. I guess, what's your general thought on the villains for Spider-Man and in the films? We go from there.
Um, I think like Spider-Man has some of my favorite comic book villains, like probably second only to Batman. And I feel like the films haven't really done them justice yet. Like they have a few times, but
Right,
it's like
right,
50-50 for whether or not I like the villain.
yeah. That's true. I think it's I think the complaint or for me, we have very like few like live action Spider-Man adaptations that are not like movies, like with the villains for Batman, we see them in television and cartoons
hmm
a
Yeah.
lot. And so with Spider-Man, it's I mean, besides the movies, the cartoons is the only like other media we like see in the villains, or the games. Now the video games are kind of like another exposure that you do
Yeah.
see. um but yeah, so, and I guess for me, I kind of agree with your statement, Will. I think, like, I it doesn't matter what you think about the films of the Batman. Like, I think everyone remembers the villain performance. Like, I don't like you know Batman Returns, but I appreciate I appreciate what Danny DeVito's performance was as the Penguin, despite how radically different he is from the
Mhm.
comic books. Um, and and same thing with Catwoman. I mean, Catwoman is the best thing about Returns, and Michelle Pfeiffer's performance is really great. You do get those kind of performances in the Spider-Man films, but it's like so far in between. Uh, or I cannot take the film seriously, so I just don't like their performance.
Mhm.
Um, and unfortunately, I think it's because we got so many superhero films as of late. It's like kind of hard to appreciate somewhat the villain performance or the character in general. Sometimes, when we get to my what is it, like, my number 10, like, he's like a good example of he has potential from his first appearance, but he has a lot of the tropes that you've seen in superhero films, and like that's where you cannot take Jamie. Sorry, I got
Spoilers.
spoiler my ranking of number 10, but this individual's performance overall from that film. Uh, so yeah, oh god. And speaking of that, did you include animation villains? Like, did you include the Spider Verse? I'm kind of
Oh,
curious.
no, I just did live action.
Oh, okay, okay. So I included the Spider Verse because it was a theatrical release.
hmm
I have three of them in the list because
Yeah, all of the villains from that movie would have made my top 10.
okay. So this could be a very interesting list.
Well, I only had 10
Oh,
things to put on the list.
yeah,
So, okay.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it could be like another hour just having like a 20 ranking list. That's just way too much. Just keep it simple. 10 is always good. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, okay. Let's, like, get started. Okay. We'll start from you, Will. What's your number 10?
Yeah. Number 10, I did both of the hobgoblins. I like combined them. So I
Oh,
mean
Green
like James
Goblins.
Franco and Dane
Oh,
DeHaan.
okay. Huh. Uh, that's I. I was like tempted to put them in. Well, I was tempted to put Franco's Goblin,
Mm.
but I was like, I was very disappointed of the
Oh,
storyline, Spider-Man 3.
yeah.
So yeah.
Me too. Yeah, no, this is I only did the live action ones and I
Mm,
grouped these together. They're at the very bottom of the list.
mm.
Like every single villain is above them.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I was constantly disappointed with those storylines. I didn't feel like they were handled very well in either Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't even remember that much about Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Uh, well,
Yeah.
he's like, I think he's like the a good example of what that film is. Like they cram so much. Like, okay, he's like a friend of Peter. Okay, we know that. Like if you've seen the cartoon and then the previous trilogy, right? And then
Mhm.
his like, and then we bring up this idea that he has an illness, and then we have this now timing like death bomb in the film where like he started to become unrealistically desperate to find a cure, and so like that's where I think the character falls apart completely. And then
Mhm.
when we get into the like set of the Sinister Six, and like he has the glider suit and then magically gets his illness cure, like they literally show you in in that screen. Like he checks on the glider and like his suit like ejecting onto him himself, and he's
Mhm.
like, oh, all like damage and something like that is healed, and it's like what. And it's just the first thing because some reason we just need a goblin to kill Gwen Stacy. And it's like, well, you don't need Green Goblin to do that. You know, you could have someone else to kill, you know, Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
It was so flimsy, like cramming too much in one film. It's just oh my god, just
Mhm.
um and I will say I think one of the things that's like also another problem for me, and this is a problem with films and villains of the comic book, is their design. It's like trouble. Like they're
Mhm.
not good. Like
Yeah.
I am very unimpressed. Like especially Franco's suit. I'm like, just I don't know. It's it's just not like like I know it's tough to kind of depict the Green Goblin costume, but I think there's
Mhm.
some way you could do it. But it's just I don't know. I'm not impressed with their like look as the
Mhm.
goblins. You know.
Yeah. And with Dane DeHaan, I was like before the movie came out, I was kind of looking forward to them doing like the ultimate Green Goblin
Mm,
thing, where like Norman Osborn actually turns into like a goblin creature.
yeah.
Um, and it seemed like that's what they were going for, and then they
There's they had well, I mean, one actor. Let me say that. I mean, Franco is very questionable, but whatever. Um, I think Dane DeHaan is really great. Um,
Mhm.
and I just felt like he was just way wasted in this film. In the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me jump into my number 10. And honestly, I made a mistake. I kind of spoiled my number 10. It's Electro from
Hmm.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. And of course, he returned in Spider-Man No Way Home. This is played by Jamie Foxx. Um, I mean, so like the opposite of unforgettable, you get cringe-worthy villain. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like Electro. I like how they visualize his powers. It's very cool to see a villain with like a very unique power we don't really see in a film, like or really in it, like both villain or hero, like electricity powers we haven't seen yet um in any of these superhero films. So it's very cool to see this character to come into live action. But again, example of cramming too much stuff. He's very stereotypical, like nerd villain trope we've been doing since Batman Returns when Michelle Pfeiffer. Like he's literally the Riddler in this film, and and then I brought when you had the Green Goblin, the character in your 10 with the Harrys. He's another one that his first design in that film was so just did not work for me, unfortunately. I think the blue just like I think they way overdid his design. I didn't mind his like electric suit he got towards the end, but the blue skin was just like you didn't allow Jamie to be Jamie Foxx, which getting into why he's not number 10, I think Spider-Man No Way Home. Anyway, getting back to piggyback what I say before the glitch. Um, so Electro's design just not good. The blue didn't work. This is where Spider-Man No Way Home did better. Why he's number 10 is that they allowed Jimmy Fox to be himself, which is great. He really had the gravitas and just like he felt like a villain, but like you sympathize him because he didn't want to be a nobody. In that works so much better in No Way Home than Amazing Spider-Man 2. What's your thoughts on Electro Will?
Well, he'll be on my list a little later.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, again, because I grouped Harry Osborn together, there's only, and I only did live action. I only have a list of 10.
okay.
So every villain from a live action movie is going to appear.
Oh, cool, cool. I'm very curious. But yeah, so okay. I there's I want to say more with Electro, but I think Electro was a decent villain for a Spider-Man film, and well, at least we got better with him in the second attempt, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. No Way Home was a lot better.
Yeah. Um, and one thing that made him endless is this theme from his Electro theme. Like
Yeah,
again, that's if you get a villain theme that's very cool, like Electro, I think that's cool. And when he came back for No Way Home, like when we saw him enter in the MCU and the theme pop up, I was like, oh yes. So I was very happy to hear that theme again in the MCU film. So yeah, yep, that's my number 10. Let's get into number 9. What's your number 9, Will?
my number 9 was the Rhino from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh
Like
god.
I liked the armor that he had. Like I thought that was a decent interpretation of the Rhino if you aren't going to commit to making him like actually that big.
Mm.
Um, and I like Paul Giamatti, but he really hammed it up for that performance. It's like so over the top. Uh,
Yeah, really is.
yeah. And then we didn't really get to see too much of him. So maybe that's a good thing based on how the rest of that movie went. But yeah, there's not really a chance for development. We
Yeah.
don't get to see him do anything cool.
Yeah. Well, the thing I like about Rhino, that I kind of wish we see more of, like you saw a little bit this in the Joe Schumacher Batman films, is like you have a villain you have in the opening, and then like Rhino came back again at the end, like have like a B villain or C villain for a hero to fight, before you get the main villain as the villain for the whole film.
Yeah,
Like I that's the thing I like about that.
yeah, I do
um
like when they do that.
yeah. And so I I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, the mech suit. I think the mech suit was kind of cool. You could have maybe done without like him looking literally like an armored rhino.
Yeah,
Like,
given how they didn't shy away from like the absurdity of Electro, and then they made him more absurd by making his powers come from an electric eel.
oh,
I think
that's
they could
true.
have gone with gigantic Rhino Man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I Rhino is one of those really tricky characters, right? Like he's like a muscle creature, right?
Hmm.
I mean, man in a suit, and like, it made sense to put him in a mech suit, um, but it was not the way I was suspecting. I would
Yeah.
say. And by the way, it's just when you have Paul Giamatti here because I have his co-star in number nine,
Okay.
which that will pretty much give you a hint who it is for my number nine. That's cool. Uh, Paul Giamatti, great actor. I think he's one of the best actors working together. He's really funny every
Hmm.
time he's in the screen. I love him in Sideways. I don't know, you seen that film,
No.
Will? Um, I highly recommend watching that. Like, I really, really hit him in that film. It's really great. That's I think he's Oscar nomination there. He's
Mhm.
also just great and wish he get an Oscar someday. But yeah. Anything else for your number nine, Will?
Again, he didn't have that much screen time, so not too much to say.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, well, let's kind of get into my number nine. I kind of hint at his co-star.
Hmm.
His co-star is Sideways. Thomas Henson Jurt, Sandman. Uh, so I have him here, and this is the character that has screen time.
Hmm.
I really enjoy Thomas Henson Church. He's a great actor. Um, Sandman. I mean, he's a very typical villain. Like, but I think was very impressive for this character is his powers. I mean, when I saw this in theaters, I was very impressed of the visual effects
Hmm.
team really getting the sand effect working. Like it looks seamless in Spider-Man 3. And I mean, and No Way Home, I think he looked pretty okay there. I mean, he was full CGI, but it it was way better than the lizard design, honestly, I would say.
Hmm.
Not to dog on the lizard, but anyway, but like it was kind of consistent, and that's the thing I like about this Sandman is that he's consistent with these both films. Um, uh, like why he's low in this list is that in Spider-Man 3, he was definitely the villain that Sam Raimi wanted to focus on, and so his storyline is a little kind of satisfying, but not in the way I think they went. I feel like, especially with like he feels too much like Doc Ock. Like I think after the success of Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock, he was very much like a response to that, and
Hmm.
so I appreciate they were trying hard to make him be like at least like a not a petty thief like in the comics or some of the cartoons, but like a very human person. And I think they did a good job. And um at least Thomas Henson Church definitely gave it gravitas.
Hmm.
So that's why he's at number nine. What's your opinion on Sandman and number nine?
I mean, again, he's going to be uh, higher up on my list because I'm doing all the live action ones. But yeah, I think if I had included the three or the like main villains from Spider Verse, he'd probably be around number nine as well.
Yeah.
But
Um
I'll talk about that more later.
okay. All right. That's good because I think he's definitely top tier like movie villain. Just purely spectacle reason. I think he has one of the best action scenes of any superhero film. I think just one thing I love about him is that he has like a comic accurate costume. And I was like, I mean, it's very easy, but just a shirt with great striped green, so that's good. Um, but anyway, what's your number eight, Will?
Number 8, I had Electro.
Oh, okay.
And the only reason he was higher than the other two that I've already talked about is because of No Way Home.
Mm,
So yeah,
okay.
I thought his depiction in Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just atrocious.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very cringy, over the top. He looks bad. Um, but then in No Way Home, they fixed all that. They made him more confident. They fixed the character design. Really saved it, but not enough to get him higher than number 8.
Hmm. True. Um, I think one thing that they did well with him is just allowing Jamie to be Jamie in the
Mhm.
No Way Home, which is good.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, like I think previously in the podcast. So you know, but yeah, okay. So anything else with Electro?
Not
I
for me.
okay because for number eight, I have the Lizard.
Okay.
So I have him here. Um, just purely, I think he was a very good villain to start with for Andrew Garfield. Um, I just feel like the execution of the Lizard wasn't great, but it was decent enough, you know.
Mhm.
Um, First off, I think Ray Fiennes as the actor that plays the Lizard was very good. I really liked him, and I think the Lizard did. I think his performance was really engaging. I think he really had good chemistry with Andrew Garfield, and then um, and I think he really brings that like humble like person that is trying to help, like trying to improve human condition, and I think that's really good. The thing that's kind of problematic is the like cutting out some of his like comic book things that work in various media, like the family and stuff. Not having it there just kind of makes him be like another scientist villain, really, or like a sympathetic scientist villain that we had previously in the Spider-Man films, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I like the whole mentor thing, but then I don't like the ear because we don't really go for to it into its logical conclusion. And especially with the mystery of the Parker family is just it's not so satisfying because it's like we're not given enough information, and I wish we maybe had more information, like give it to Connors, and like Connors can maybe give more information for Peter, what his father like, stuff like that. Um, No Way Home, I think did a okay job. I kind of question my list now with that. But then I mean he barely does anything, and
Yeah,
No Way
he's
Home.
barely in No Way Home.
Yeah. So do you have the lizard in your list?
Yeah, no, I've again everyone from a live action movie's on my list.
Okay. Yeah, so Lizard is at my number eight. He's okay, but yeah, a bit more. Uh, Number seven. What's your number seven?
I had Venom, like the
Oh,
Topher Grace.
really?
Yeah. Again, like I don't like his Venom. Like I don't start liking the villains until number 6.
Hmm.
But I don't know, it's still Venom. Venom's cool.
Yeah. Um.
um I liked um how Spider-Man defeated Venom in that movie. I thought that was a good sequence with like the
Yes.
poles and the
Yeah.
banging. Yeah.
Oh my god. And the speed that Spider-Man did was like incredible. I was very
Hmm.
impressed with the way the special effects team did it, like
Hmm.
making him move very quickly to put the pipes under
Yeah.
the ground, and it's just like very cool. Yeah, I agree. One of the best defeats for a villain. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I thought I, Topher wasn't really believable as like
No.
Eddie Brock. I mean, Eddie Brock's supposed to be like this really like tough guy, and then they got Eric Foreman from that '70s show, um, which like I love Topher Grace. I think he's like a good actor. He's really funny.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a weird casting choice.
I I I I disagree on that part a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there was potential. I think
Hmm.
um I think having Topher there, like he is kind of like obviously Venom is like the kind of anti version of Spider-Man, right?
Hmm.
You know, and you know, I was thinking about it. And I think one of the producers or Sam himself kind of comment like, or Topher. I think Topher mentioned this like, he is, he mentioned like he's also a comic book fan, and I do appreciate
Yeah.
that. And
Yes, he is.
yeah, and one thing he mentioned, like he's is a scrawny person. He does kind of like a little bit like Peter is before
Yes.
he became Spider-Man. I like that. I just wish we had like a mention of it. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
problem for
Yeah, I could
me.
see a version of the film where they painted Eddie as like an alternate version of Peter Parker that didn't choose to become a hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Who like embraced the idea that he was like this downtrodden loser, and now he had the power to like fight back all the people that had wronged him instead of like becoming a hero. Um, I
Yep.
could see that being a good foil to Spider-Man, but that's not the direction they necessarily went in.
No,
Like
and
there's a bit of that, but
mhm,
it's less explicit that he's like if Peter made a wrong choice at some point, you know.
yeah, I agreed. And the I mean everyone has brought this up when we talk about Spider-Man 3. It just felt like Venom was showing in the film, like he was just cramming in the film
Hmm.
from the producers. Like they just wanted Venom because he was like the most popular character,
Hmm.
and you do feel that in the film.
Yeah.
Like he was completely unnecessary, and like and his storyline was so unsatisfying, and just I mean, oh my god, just which is a shame because I think he looked great when I saw it in theater. Like I love the design this Venom,
Hmm.
um like it has the Venom look, and I really like the detail on like he has a little bit of the repping from Spider-Man. Like he's like half the costume, but like he's more like an organic creature now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, which is cool, and but overall, it was just a overwhelming villain that was just not necessary for the film, and just was just really.
Hmm.
And Topher Grace, I mean, I think he does definitely give a good performance. I like the performance. I don't like it. Thank goodness it's not like horrible, cringeworthy. I think it was very good. I think he kind of gets the material what they're trying to do with Eddie, but when we
Hmm.
do the Venom stuff, it's very just paint by numbers, really. I didn't like we always like pull back his face, and see the performance. Like, unfortunately, it was maybe a little limited to have Venom and talking very much in the face mask. So this is where the Tom Hardy Venom probably fixed more. Like, at least we see Venom talk more in the Venom alien form. Oh dear. But yeah. yeah, yeah. But it's good you brought Venom here. So, anything else for Venom?
No, that's it for my thoughts on Venom. Who's your number seven?
So my number seven is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. We got the first character here, and this is Doc Ock, Olivia Octavius.
Yeah.
So she's number seven. Um, just I think this was one of the cool like gender swap for a villain,
Hmm.
and I think this really worked. Just getting Catherine Han right.
Yeah.
I think she's really great for the performance of Doc Ock. I think she really does it, and I think she really is a frame villain and a scientist as well. I think it's
Hmm.
very good. So, uh, I really dug the tentacles they have here. I like how they're very like I don't know what you call it, like plastically like
Yeah, they're
tentacles.
like inflated instead of
Yes,
mechanical, which is yeah, really cool.
yes, very cool. And I just seeing like it's one of the best. Like having Spider-Man versus Doc Ock is great. Like especially the action scenes, and this just like in animation form was very impressive.
Mhm.
Um, I just thought it was really great. I was just very happy to see another version of Doc Ock in a film, and this does not disappoint, which is good.
Mhm.
What's your opinion on Doc Ock?
Yeah, no, I loved the changes that they made to Doc Ock in that movie.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely like watching it the first time. Uh, I was like surprised when she said her name. Like I didn't know that that was coming.
Yes,
Um, and yeah, I love like the immediate turn from her being like kind of like aloof like character that's working with the villain, and then you realize who she is and you're like, oh man, and she like gets a little sinister. And
yeah,
yeah, really well done. I love her redesign too, like you were saying, like the arms feel like a very unique take on Doc Ock. um, yeah, just a really good character. I hope she pops up in sequels.
yeah. No, I agreed. Just I overall rounded villain.
Hmm.
And it's really incredible to see like Spider Verse handle so many villains. Like I think we have like three like principal villains like in center, and then we got like a couple here like being the lackeys, like Scorpion and Tombstone,
Hmm.
and of course the Goblin in the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's live action has kind of got somewhat improvement on that, but I think Spider Verse just does it better, and it seems flawless for me.
Yeah.
So it's just that way spot. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Doc Ock and number seven. Let's get into number six.
Yeah. All right. So now we're getting into characters that I actually enjoy.
Yes.
Um, and my number six was Sandman.
Mm, nice spot.
Yeah. Um, I liked that they made him more sympathetic and he was more complex than just being, like you said, just like a street criminal.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
the storyline with his daughter was really touching. Um, and then just the effects were incredible, like especially for the time, but I think they hold up pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Especially that scene when he falls into the collider or whatever it was,
Whatever it
and
was.
turns into the sand.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the best like transformation for a villain, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. I agree. One note I want to add is the score for Spider-Man 3. Um, it's really great. And I should have mentioned this with Venom, but I really love the Sandman's theme because this is it wasn't composed by Danny Elfman, for this third time. This was Christopher Yon, who did some of the horror films like I think Candyman, and he did the Hellraiser, the first two,
Mm,
and he worked crabbily with Sam, and like he did a little bit of Spider-Man 2, especially the Doc Ock theme. If you listen to the Doc Ock theme, it's very like reminiscent of Hellraiser. If you listen to the beats, um, the Salmon theme is very gorgeous. Like it really has that like melancholic kind of feel for Sandman. Like you're supposed to sympathize this character, And
mhm,
it, I think the intent for Sandman is well done. It's just I wish we had him as the main villain for Spider-Man 3.
mhm.
Just him, not Harry or Venom.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot better. It's clear that that's what Raimi wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And I'm just baffled because the first two we just have one villain. I just I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird. Um, yeah, and Thomas Hennon Church, great actor. He's totally amazing, funny as well. I think he looks like Flint Marker as well. Like that's another thing I like about him and the Sandman. Like I like about these villains is they look a little bit of their characters in the comics. So because sometimes we don't do that a lot in the films, it gets kind of annoying. Thinking this Thomas Head was like very reminiscent of the character from the comics. But any more thoughts on Sandman and uh, and your list?
I guess I didn't touch on his appearance in No Way Home,
Oh yeah,
which, yeah, he's barely in that movie. But yeah, it was too bad that they couldn't get the actor over there to like film scenes, and he had to be just a voice role. But
yeah,
um,
yeah. COVID, ugh,
yeah,
just horrible. Yep. Yeah. But I I will say this was way better than the Lizard. Like, I mean, well, um, maybe I should say that, but never mind. I retract my statement on that. So, yeah.
uh,
Um.
who was your number six?
Okay. So my number 6 is Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe for the Spider-Man Raimi trilogy, and then No Way Home, is really great villain. I think just William Dafoe performance as the Green Goblin, it's really spectacular. He does a great job of turning in and out of the good Harry into the bad Goblin persona, which is
Mhm.
incredible. And like it it's very impressive. And even the cameos he gets in 2 and 3 is very powerful, and like you do feel that sense of the goblin. And I think that's one of the most impressive thing about Defoe and this character in the live action is like he has present and he's very threatening, and that's good. Nitpicks here is like the costume is kind of silly, but whatever. I think it works, and I don't mind
Mhm.
that. And especially in No Way Home, they kind of fixed that, and that's good. Just for me, it's just like as you mentioned, Will, during either like our previous podcast, especially the MCU ranking, you have him there, and then of course the movies. I think I would kind of wish we kept Goblin alive in the trilogy, and use him more. So that's my thing, and that's why he's not number 6.
Yeah,
So
I mean, again, I'm gonna have him further up the list, but
yeah,
yeah, I think Defoe's performance is incredible, and I just wish they had used him more. And I'm glad they brought him back for No Way Home, and I definitely preferred him in No Way Home.
yeah, me too.
Um,
I
but
prefer no way.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's get into number 5. Who's your number 5?
my number five is the Lizard.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I know I like him more than you do because I
Yeah.
don't. mind as much that they didn't include the stuff about his family.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I like the like good scientist turned bad trope for villains. Like it's really basic, but I think can be done well. And I think I liked his relationship with Peter.
yeah,
Um,
I agree.
yeah, I thought he had good like fight scenes with Spider-Man, especially the one that takes place at their school.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Um,
Has one of the Stanley's best cameos.
yeah.
So, yeah. So,
That's a
yep.
good one.
Yep.
Um, and I liked Reese Ifans' like performance, um, and the way that he like. All right, there's one shot that I always think of where he's like standing next to a pane of glass, and you can see his like reflection of his
Yes.
arm where the missing
Yes.
arm would be. Yeah, I don't know. I thought you really understood his like motives for creating the lizard serum. And then he kind of like loses the thread a bit when he becomes the lizard and
Yeah.
decides he wants to turn everyone else into lizards too. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know. And the character had a lot of like pathos.
Yeah. I will say, I think he's really great in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Mhm.
Amazing Spider-Man. Sorry, not Spider-Man 2, the first
Yeah,
one. Uh, I think I enjoy his design more here. Um, I don't
yeah,
know what happened with No Way Home. I, I,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. No Way Home, he's kind of a waste.
yep,
Like, like I'm glad he's there, but because they couldn't get the actor in, um, so much of his presence in the film is just kind of like he's present and then he says something about wanting to turn everyone into lizards and
yeah,
then they put him in a cell.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, it was really a missed opportunity to maybe like flesh out the character a bit more or give him more like I don't know. I would have liked to have him interact with Peter again.
yeah.
You know?
Like we got that with Electro, with Andrew.
Yeah,
So
but he had a better relationship with um, Dr. Connors, so
yeah,
that would have meant more. It would have been more like the Toby and Doc Ock reunion.
yeah,
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 but
yeah. Yeah, that I think I'm like I haven't watched rewatched No Way Home, but there was some missed opportunities, like seeing Defoe with McGuire, and then now you mentioned the lizard. It's like it was kind of disappointing that we didn't see that with Andrew's version, you know.
yeah,
But I mean, there's a lot going on, and I can't fault them for that. Um, and speaking of the design a little bit more, like recently the one of the people that work on the film have released some concept art on the villains, and there was
hmm
one for the lizard, and he had the coat,
yeah,
and he looked more like the lizard from the comics actually. The face, like the snot was actually more pronounced in that
hmm
art than this. I mean, it's a little bit here, but it's still like I cannot tell the difference really. I
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, the lizard. Any more thoughts on the lizard?
No, that's it for me. What's your number five then?
Okay, so my number five is another Spider-Verse villain. This is the Kingpin. So he's my number five. I think Lee Schreier is a great actor. I love him. He's the best Sabretooth ever. I wish he came back for Logan, but we didn't get that. Um, uh, I think he was the right voice for the Kingpin. I really dug the Kingpin as the main villain. I was very happy we finally got him to be a villain for Spider-Man. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was really great, and I love how intimidated, but also kind of tragic as well, which is great. Like we mentioned motivation. I think one of the great things about at least the Spider-Man villains is that at least they have clear motives than some other villains, you know.
Hmm.
And I think Kingpin has the best one. I totally get why he's trying to get, trying to open the portals for the multiverse is trying to get his family back, and that is really, poignant. And I like how we open Vanessa, a character that's very important to Kingpin in the comics and TV shows and
Hmm.
whatnot. And that was really cool. And I think his relationship with the Spider-Man is really interesting, especially with Miles and the older Parkers if they when he ever interacted with them. So it's
Hmm.
really cool. Um, Overall, great villain. I think I'm very excited to see if we're going to see him again in Spider Verse, or hopefully we get him, in live action to be in Tom Holland's film one day. But for
Oh
now, I'm
man.
very happy for Kingpin for Spider Verse.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on
Yeah,
Kingpin?
I thought he was really cool. I loved his design of him being just like so big and
Yeah.
imposing. Yeah, I thought he was really intimidating in that movie. I still prefer the Vincent D'Onofrio version,
Mm, yeah.
at least the one in the Daredevil TV show. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought you really understood his motivations in Spider-Verse. And yeah, he was really just like intimidating as a villain. And
Yep.
yeah, just the fact that he was so big and Miles was so like small and scrawny, really like I don't know, like you were scared for Miles when he was fighting him.
Yeah.
Really good
Um,
character design.
Yeah, and not like one thing I appreciate about Spider Verse that every animation should do, and this is why I like Batman. Like this is why everyone loves Batman, the animation series. This is why I like Pixar, and now the recent Disney animation films.
Mhm.
Since Wreck-It Ralph, is they do not pull back their punches, and I really appreciate we have a scene where Kingpin kills, the version of Spider-Man in Miles' universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was very like whoa. And
Hmm.
him killing, of course, Miles' uncle was another one, like, wow,
Yeah.
we're going there. So
Hmm.
that I really appreciate that. And that's why he's like high in list, is that, he's like they don't lose the imitation, which we always do in these films, and that's frustrating.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so any more thoughts on Kingpin? We can let me go into number four.
Just yeah, just wanted to echo that unintentional pun there. That I hope he shows up in a Spider-Man movie played by Vincent
Wasn't
D'Onofrio.
that
I
from?
think that would be
Yep,
really good.
yep. And I think that could be a good next film.
Yeah,
So to ground it.
yeah, I could
So
team
yeah,
up with Daredevil.
yeah,
Be
um,
great.
yeah. Oh my god, that made my day. Oh my god, I love that team up so much.
Hmm.
My God. Okay, so let's get into number four. I think you probably have him in number four, maybe. I don't know. What's your number four, Will?
Green Goblin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, I tried to yeah, I tried to base my rankings on like their original appearance in the movies and not on No Way Home.
Right. I did
Um,
that as well.
yeah, but yeah, Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe is just so good at playing that like really crazy, just like unhinged character. Um, and I mean, yeah, like the movie's really campy. The
Mhm.
outfits really just like cartoonish and weird, and
Yeah.
like the hard plastic look is just such a I don't know, it really dates the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but Defoe's performance really just like pulls it all together.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Like, the scene where he like sees the paper of the Oscorp members get murdered,
Hmm.
during the scene, and then we get the first, him talking to the Goblin persona. Like that is the
Hmm.
most iconic thing about the first film, and like
Yeah.
it's just so good. It shows Defoe's range as an actor. Like
Mhm.
just oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah, oh my god.
Yeah. And then to bring in No Way Home, like that movie really just like took everything that was great about the Goblin in the original movie
Mhm.
and then focused on that and expanded it and made it even better. Um, yeah, just
And great chemistry with both actors. That's another
yeah.
thing that really works in No Way Home. It's like he has scenes with Holland, and it just works,
Hmm.
which is good. Um, yeah, I like some of the ticks that Defoe does. Like in No Way
Hmm.
Home, he does the whistle when Parker like fights him. When he does
Hmm.
that little whistle,
Hmm.
and then before he became a Green Goblin, he he the when he does the strapping, one of the his scientists do, before he gets the green formula, like he say, oh, it's cold, like that was a cool like touch there, and I just love that he did that. This is like, oh, it's cold, that like iron
Hmm.
like chamber thing, and it's just like, yeah, it's just those moments give Defoe just incredible range. It's just I love him. This I just love him so much. Um, and then just not talking too much of the sign. It's just I'm not used to with a goblin with full green. But I mean we're gonna get that if you're gonna do the ultimate Green Goblin.
Hmm.
Well, more like abomination kind of look for the Green Goblin if you
Right.
went to that route. So yeah. Ugh. I'm happy you put Goblin at number 4. I think it's the right spot.
Mm.
So okay, let me any more thoughts on Green Goblin?
No, that was it for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's your number four?
So my number 4 is Mysterio from
Okay.
Spider-Man Far From Home and a little bit
Hmm.
in No Way Home. Um, what else we can say about Mysterio? I think he's awesome. I mean, just having Jake Gyllenhaal is really great. I think he really brings gravitas and energy that I think for a film that was very just paint night, you know, just didn't have the heart or the the Spider-Man you really want, but you have at least a great Spider-Man villain that chews the scene every time, and I think Mysterio is that. Um, I mean, first off, costume amazing, spot on. I love it. Um, it also like just reflects on like what Beck is trying to do. Um, I agree with you, Will, when we did the MCU villain ranking. He has probably the most interesting motivation, like trying to become the next Avenger and trying to trick them by using the next adventure threat and all of that. Like it's really great stuff. And I was sad that we kill him, but I appreciate that his presence in No Way Home didn't disappear, and like he was still felt in No Way Home, which is great. Like he felt more like the Joker, really, kind of like like the last minutes in Dark Knight. Like he had that presence in No Way Home, which is great. Um, I I think I know he could be your number 2 or 3, but not to spend too much time in the studio. Just great villain. Um, just brief statements, Will, about Mysterio.
Yeah, I really love Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think he's a great villain, and I'll talk more about it later.
yeah, exactly. So, for no further ado, let's get into number 3. Who's your number 3, Will?
My number three was Doc Ock.
Oh, you mean Doctor Octopus?
Yeah,
Whoa, really? Okay, okay. I
yeah.
see. I see. Um, Well, let's begin. Let's um, like, I mean, I'm like speechless. I don't know why, but
What?
I don't know. Like, mainly because I'm more of a huge Doc Ock fan. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think I definitely have like an unpopular view of Doc Ock, where
Okay.
I see what everyone else sees, and I
Hmm.
like him a lot, but it really rubbed me the wrong way when they made the arms like talk to him, and that was the reason
Mm,
he became
yeah.
corrupt. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I want him to be corrupted like by his own sense of like injustice. Like, I want him to feel wronged, and that's why he becomes a villain. I don't want it to be like a good guy that like goes crazy because some mechanical arms are talking to him. You
Yeah.
know, it really just took away from the character for me.
No, no, I agree. That's that's a new like criticism that has kind of brought up now. After 15 years or how many years since the Spider-Man 2 release. Yeah, no, I understand why. Um, I think I think it's like a very unique take we did with Doc Ock with the tentacles. Like I like how we made the tentacles as characters. That's why I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I don't
But
know. I didn't like it, but
yeah, and I mean that's where I'm like kind of understand where you're coming from. And everyone. So no, I understand. Um, but I just love it because the performance of Alpha Male is just
yeah,
so great, and
yeah,
it's just
yeah. I've said what I don't like about the character, but
yeah,
I there's so much that I do. Yeah,
yeah.
great performance. He really brings a humanity to the character that I think like that's the reason everyone loves Spider-Man 2. He really elevated it with his performance.
Yeah. I mean, in his death, like, it's definitely the most general, like genuine, like, sacrifice we've seen in a film, and 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 this is where I like knowing home is that they respect where it was left off, and like we redeem Doc Ock, so which I like. So, but yeah, okay. Any more with Doc Ock?
Uh, no, we can talk more about it when we get to him on your list. I'm
Sure.
assuming he's high up on your list.
Yeah. So, which is clearly when my general surprise. I was like, oh, but I mean, yeah, I understand your view and your opinion on this ranking. So, I mean, like no one puts Doc Ock as number one. Like it's gonna be your personal taste. Sometimes it's Green Goblin or someone else.
Mhm.
So yeah, I understand. But for my number three, you know, is the Plower from Spider-Verse, Aaron's
Yes.
Miles, yeah,
Yeah.
Miles' uncle. I think just having Mashasha Ali voicing the character was a very great choice.
Hmm.
I think he really brings it all in this performance.
Hmm.
I first thing when you see Aaron, not the Plower, but he really connects to Miles because he's kind of similar to Miles, and and then of course his brother is Miles' father, who's the police. Like all of that is really incredible, and I I just love his relationship with Miles and how he's teaching him to be a man and like really take ownership of his like creative strive that he has, and like the themes of great expectations and responsibility, and I think Aaron the Plower just really brings all that into the overall arc of Spider-Verse. And the Plower, I think he's a really great villain. I love his design in this film. um Very symmetrical, I'll say. um but also his theme, great, scary, just ominous, just you know right away you're in trouble with the Plower. So I think he's one of the best. Yeah, I think he was the best in Spider-Verse as a villain, and I think he should be high in the list. So, what's your opinion on the Plower, Will?
Yeah, I agree. He's just he's like a perfect uh like villain to have in Miles' origin story.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, just the relationship that they have, the like tension that that creates between Miles and his father, and then the tension that it creates between Miles and his uncle when they discover each other's alter egos. It's just like a really compelling character dynamic,
yeah,
and they pulled it off so perfectly in that movie.
yeah. Ugh, and his death like
Yeah,
was
so
just
sad.
so. That was so sad when I saw it in theaters. I was like, whoa. And just like it gave us another great scene with the father talking to, Miles, and, you know, from the door
Yeah.
where
Oh
Miles is
man.
tied up, it's just incredible scene. So yeah, so the Plower, great. So really amazing. Okay, let's get into number two. I think I know who's number two. It's like, is it obvious or not?
I think so. I,
So
I mean, it's between two people now.
yeah, I'm kind of curious. Who's your number two, Will?
I went with Vulture for number two.
Okay, this is the first time we lined up. Yep, I have him
Okay.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Normally
Um.
we line up a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of did here in this list. Just mine's had the Spider-Verse villains.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if I had included the Spider-Verse villains, it would have lined up a little better.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, I knew Vulture was number two for you, and just for me, I think he's just like top tier villain. Um,
yeah.
yeah. Um, I mean, you're the first one first, starting this. What was your, you know, general consent with Vulture? I mean,
Yeah.
general
Um,
consent with Vulture.
yeah. I just love that they made a character with like a very like believable and understandable backstory that tied into like the previous movies in the franchise.
Yeah,
Um, and he was doing his like criminal villainous stuff for like a real reason, and it wasn't
yeah,
that he was like crazy. Um, so like you had sympathy for him without viewing him as a victim of something,
yes, I agree.
um,
Yeah,
which was just refreshing for a Spider-Man movie. Um, and then Michael Keaton's performance just knocks it out of the park. Um,
yes. Oh my God.
yeah, because
I,
he's like very likable until there's like that turn when he does something, whether it's just like killing a henchman like it's nothing, or um, realizing that Peter is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like
Yeah.
there's that turn, and you see that like switch happen,
Oh my
and
God, with the
he,
green light. It's
yeah,
like,
oh,
yeah.
it's such a good shot. Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah.
And then the design, like the updated Vulture costume, was also really good, giving
Oof.
him like the mechanical wings instead of the ones with like the articulated feathers. I think that worked better for live action.
Yeah.
And then the like bomber jacket with the fur instead of the like weird fur collar from the comics.
Comics. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they took all of the like central design aspects of the character and then made it like realistic and cool instead of like goofy.
Yeah. I agreed. This just like I think just the Vulture overall is the most rounded supervillain in any of the Spider-Man villains. He was
Mhm.
like what we need after, you know, I mean, I don't hate the villains of the Amazing Spider-Man, but just they fell out of place of the Andrew Garfield like films a little
Mhm.
bit, you know,
Yeah.
and um, and I just was very happy we got like a more scaled down, like grounded story of a villain, you know,
Mhm.
not you know on bent of domination or like uh, attention or like for superficial reasons. Like I here you understood why there's like a reason he's doing this for personal reasons. It's because his family and like and then at the same time it has this other added addition of like he felt he was robbed from this class that is taking this opportunity for him to provide his family and like the business that he has, like all
Mhm.
that works so well. And and he does Kean just brings everything a game in this film. And I'm not like so excited to see him in Morbius, uh whatever they're gonna do with Vulture there. But
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness I'm not gonna see that film, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I love his design, very grounded, way better from the comics. I think it's
Mhm.
very good. So yeah, I agree. I agree with all you say, Will, and I think Vulture is number two, as the best Spider-Man villain. So okay, ready to go to number one?
Yeah.
Okay, you go. Number one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll go first.
yep,
My number one is Mysterio.
yep. I knew it.
Yeah. I don't think there's something about Jake Gyllenhaal's performance that really clicks for me.
Mm,
Um, I like something really feels like off and suspicious about it in like the first half of the movie before the big reveal.
yes.
Um, that I don't know what he's doing to give me that feeling of like unease that like something's wrong with that character. Like, because even like obviously I knew that Mysterio was the villain going
Yeah.
into the movie, um, but I like watching the first half of the movie. I'm like, there's something off about this performance, and
Hmm.
it's that the character is performing. Which,
Yeah.
and it's I haven't been able to figure out like what he's doing that makes that like
Like
performance within the performance different
that's
from
different.
like later when he's just being evil Mysterio.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jake does what Winifred does. Like he does the turn
Mhm.
so good. Like he turns the good Mysterio into the bad Mysterio very well and
Mhm.
seamlessly. Like like he generally likes Peter, and like he is trying to not only achieve his goal, but he's trying to keep Peter out of the plan. And that's something you don't see. A hero is trying to keep the hero away from his plan because he generally likes him, and like you've seen a couple of those scenes with he's like he kind of regrets that he now has to kill Peter, um and just like Keaton, I think he also has that like just turn like like he ultimately turns right away like so good, like Keaton turns into this loving like like lovely like old school father, and then turns into this cold blooded killer, right away in the car scene. And here you see Jake just turning this like supposed like dimension superhero, but instead he's like a con artist that's
Mhm.
trying to be the next Iron Man, and he does it so well,
Mhm.
and it's just totally incredible change that just feels right. Um, and I think it just helps that he's enjoying himself in this role. Like he's been after the film, I think Keith has mentioned before that was he loved that film. He really loved the role, and he loved wearing the costume. Like he
Hmm.
generally loved being in that role. Where sometimes some actors like have this high opinion of themselves, and sometimes they don't like the film or the role, or like they always complain with something. Where Jake just does not have that at all. Like I was shocked that he said he wanted to stay in that costume, the Mysterio costume, all day. Like that's just funny, and just shows his commitment as the actor.
Hmm.
And I'm surprised he hasn't had an Oscar yet, because I think he just brings his end game as well.
Yeah, I think
Every
it's
role,
coming.
yeah. But it's impressive. You know, I totally agree. I think if if we had like a kinder where I think Mysterio could have been my number one. And but I think he's very good. Yeah. But okay. Anything else for Mysterio?
Just there's that one sequence where Peter is in the illusions, like right before he
Mm,
gets hit by the train.
Train. Yep.
Um, that sequence is just so beautifully done. Like the visuals are so cool.
Yes.
Um, and it really shows like what Mysterio is capable of and like why he's an intimidating villain. Because like a guy pretending to have magic powers isn't necessarily going to be that like much of a
SF.
threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that shows like what
It's
that
good.
power set is capable of, and it's a really good scene.
Yeah, I agree. And just his speech to Peter during that like illusion
Hmm.
before the train was also great. I really love that, because it really it gets you into the mind of what Mysterio is trying to do and
Hmm.
trying to accomplish as a villain. You know, and I feel like that's another thing that is great about that scene for me. It's the
Hmm.
speech he tells Pierce, like everyone wants to believe in something, or in that phrase and stuff like that. I think that's the thing about Mysterio I like, is just his motivation of doing this to pretend to be a hero makes a lot of sense. And just one I relate to.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else for Mysterio?
That's it for me. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
time for your number one.
yeah, so I don't want to talk too long with my number one. It's pretty obvious, is Doctor Octopus from Spider-Man
Hmm.
2 and No Way Home. Uh, I mean, I enjoy it. I'm a huge Doctor Octopus fan. I think he's my favorite Spider-Man villain, and I think his live action appearance is good. It's great. I think Spider-Man 2 was a great film, and it handles the villain very well, just like Green Goblin. But I think 10 times better over the first Spider-Man film, I think, and just brings more personal stakes and emotional connection that I think works so well in Spider-Man 2. And just adding into No Way Home, I really appreciate we didn't retcon or ruin the arc that, Octavius had in Spider-Man 2. And I like that he wasn't a villain in No Way Home. I mean,
Hmm.
he uh, just, his chemistry with two of the like the two Spider-Mans is really incredible. I like the father and son relationship he has in Spider-Man 2 with Toby, and then when Holland cures him with the new chip, I like how he reverts back to his old kinder way, and it's just so like charming and just amazing. I think Alfred Molina is a great actor. I think this is one of the best super villain performance, and I think he just brings it all, and it's great. And one thing we haven't mentioned, you mentioned this with Mysterio. I think he has the best scenes in these films, like the
Hmm.
best action scenes. I mean, the train scene in Spider-Man 2 is amazing,
Yeah.
really great. Like, and it's the reason why Spider-Man 2 got an Oscar. And No Way Home, the first time we meet him is also another great scene with Doc Ock. So yeah, So so he's my number one.
Yeah,
So
I
what's
think
your
that's a
opinion?
good choice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you talk as well with Doc Doc, so that's good.
Yeah, no, he's a great villain.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's our ranking of Spider-Man villains. Sorry with the crazy delays and the craziness of Sunday, but hey, Sunday, right? And next week we're gonna have Moon Knight.
Yeah, that's right. It comes out Wednesday.
Yes, so we're gonna go back to our TV weekly discussions, which is good.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's been, oh my God, 3 months already, right? Or 2.5 months since Hawkeye. We had like a TV discussion for 6 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, oh my God, I'm so excited for Moon Knight. I mean, they've been kicking the advertising so high in gear for
Yeah, they
this
have.
show. Yeah. I'm just excited to see Ethan Hawke in a superhero film or superhero thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll
So,
be interesting.
yeah. So yeah, so that will be our next thing to do next week. So we're back to our traditional routine of discussing TV. So and I'm very excited for Doc Moon Knight, not Doc Ock.
Hmm.
But I'm very excited to see Oscar Isaac having
Hmm.
another chance in the superhero property, and that's good. Yeah. So that will be our next thing for next Sunday. Will, thank you for joining for me today to do this awesome podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So everyone, thank you for joining me and Will for this awesome podcast. Me and Will be back for next Sunday for our return